yeah, so for my next question, boss, is what is the tax smart way to support aging parents financially?
Ooh, um, that's a tough one. So there are all different kinds of situations. Most elderly people are gonna end up with some kind of taxable income, and some people sometimes mom moves into the in-law suite and becomes a real dependent, but that's relatively rare these days. That used to be much more common, and so the what it comes down to is the fact that especially as people age, they're going to need more and more help with their situation as far as managing their finances. And that's true of taxes, it's true of everything else. There's telephone scam calls and all kinds of stuff that you have to be mindful of as parents age. But one of those things is taxes. So I have a number of clients who coming into the office, and it's a 94-year-old woman and her 60-year-old son, or whatever it is. And he's helping her just manage all the stuff because faculties are kind of there, not, and she can sign stuff and she understands what's going on, but keeping track of all these different numbers is tough. So really just being there for them and helping them manage all that is really the key element. There can be times when it makes sense to have different arrangements if they go into managed care. That's a whole separate thing. But even then, had a client this year who went into managed care, passed away, but still had like giant amounts of retirement income. We had still had to file their own final tax returns and everything. In those cases, there's a special thing with managed care where a portion of your rent is typically counted as medical expense, but that's case by case. It's hard to give generalities there beyond just being involved and making sure that money's being saved and not. I can tell you stories. I had one guy come in. This was years ago. Comes in. His wife passed away, and they were not super old, but like 60, 70, something like that. He brings in his stuff, and he's getting all these weird notices in the mail, all these amounts due from stuff from the bank and all this kind of stuff. And as it turned out, that his wife, who had passed away, was a huge gambling addict and had kept it hidden for however many years. But then she passed away, and all the notices that had been coming that she'd been intercepting, he was now getting, and he had no idea about any of this. Whether it's that or whether I've had retired people come to me and say, I'm going to invest all my life savings into the Iraqi dinar because it's going to make me $1 billion or whatever. And I was like, okay, I'm not your financial advisor, but that sounds dumb. So there are a lot of people out there who prey on the elderly with all these different scams and everything. So make sure that you're there to prevent all the money from being spent frivolously, because there are real world consequences. Because let's say your mom or whatever is getting on in years and she has a pension from whenever she worked and she makes whatever. She between Social Security and her pension, she makes 60 grand a year in retirement. And if she then takes that $60,000 and sends it to scammer X, you still owe the tax on the 60,000, right? That's a problem. So there's not so much. There's less to do with strategy. There are some things you can do, but again, very dependent on circumstances. But by and large, the biggest thing to do is just be involved, make sure that things are being taken care of, make sure taxes are being filed, make sure paperwork's not being lost. All these kinds of things is really what comes into play when it comes to the elderly. So that's it depends for that one.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that, Neal, because my aunt stays with my mother, and literally $349 every month she was giving over to these scammers. We didn't know about it. She was doing it for 5 years. Can you imagine that?
Yep.
So, couldn't believe it, but yeah, I agree. Totally agree there. So we have a tax planning and wealth building question.